In Boston, when you list a rental can be just as important as what you list. Get the timing wrong and you can end up staring at weeks of vacancy even with a great unit. You get it right and you can have multiple qualified tenants competing for the same apartment, pushing your rents as high as possible. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down Boston's rental cycle, why it's different from most cities, and how the seasons actually work here, and how to use that timing to protect and improve your return. I'm Jarrett Lau with Profitable Properties Boston. We're a local real estate agency that works with investors, buying and selling multifamily properties across the city. Because we're in the market every single day, helping owners rent units, watching listings move, and seeing what sits, we get a front row view of how much timing impacts results. And just to be clear, the goal here is not to sell you anything, it's to give you the same market rhythm insights that we use so that you can make smarter decisions with your leases, turnovers, and investments. By the end of this video, you're going to understand when demand is going to be at the highest, when it drops off, and how to plan around that cycle so that timing works for you instead of against you. Why Boston is different. In a lot of cities, rental demand stays relatively steady year-round. Boston isn't like that. Between the student population, healthcare, and tech jobs, as well as constant relocations, Boston's demand follows a very predictable seasonal curve. And the busiest stretch is no secret. It's going to be between the June and September timeframe, with September 1st as the biggest turnover date. Now that's typically tied to school calendars, job start dates, and long-standing local habits. But here's the part a lot of investors miss. It's not enough to know September is busy, but to use this market to your advantage, you need to understand how the whole year actually plays out, because the Boston rental cycle starts earlier than people think. The Boston rental year in real terms. Here's the general pattern that we see year after year, and if you're targeting September 1st, this timeline really matters, so pay attention. January to February. Winter demand is softer overall, but this is where Boston becomes a two-track market, because September 1 leasing starts in January, especially for 3+ bedroom units, student groups, and tenants who plan early. You also see a similar wave of demand around second semester school starts and January relocations. March to May. Momentum builds fast. More September 1st renters enter the market, roommate groups form, and tenants start competing early to lock in the right place. Good listings move quickly here, especially if the unit's well presented and priced accordingly. June to August. This is peak season, highest urgency, highest volume, and usually the shortest days on market. You're going to see the most amount of showings, the most amount of applications, and the most amount of competition. But it also means that the execution matters. Photos, pricing, condition, and response time. September. This is where the turnover surge. Early September is a sprint, then activity drops off sharply once that wave passes and inventory gets absorbed. October to December. Quieter overall, but not dead. Units can absolutely rent here, but you're typically working with a smaller tenant pool, and pricing discipline matters the most. The winners in this season are going to be clean, well-maintained units that show well and are going to be positioned correctly. And one quick nuance that's really important. The bigger the unit, the earlier this cycle starts. So if you own a 3, 4, or 5 bedroom and you want a strong September 1 lease up, January isn't early, it's on time. Now, why timing directly affects your ROI? Now, this isn't just about convenience, it's about your return. Here's a simple example. If your unit rents for $3,000 a month and sits vacant for 1 month because you missed the demand window, that's $3,000 gone. Over a year, that's roughly an 8% hit to your gross rental income. And that's before you factor in your fixed expenses, things like your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance, your utilities, and your maintenance. On the flip side, when you list during high demand periods, especially when competition is going to be the strongest, you can often reduce vacancy and sometimes command stronger rents. Not by overcharging, but because more qualified tenants are going to be competing for your unit as well as fewer other good options. So here's a real-world strategy example. An investor had a lease ending in late October, which is a tougher time to fill in the Boston market. Instead of forcing a full 12-month lease that would keep landing them in a slow season, we decided to have them offer a shorter lease to the next tenant so that turnovers would land at the end of August. That one small adjustment moved their future leasing window into peak demand season. The following year, the unit was listed at the right time, rented quickly, and we avoided the kind of winter vacancy that quietly kills returns. This strategy is simple, but it's powerful. because it turns the Boston rental calendar into something that you can plan around. To get the best results, here are a few common mistakes. 1. Letting leases end in the slow months with no plan. 2. Waiting until the last minute to decide on renewals, pricing, or marketing. 3. Assuming that peak season is going to be automatic success, and that ignoring presentation, even in the peak months, which in condition, photos, and response time really do matter. While we're here, let's clear up a myth that I hear all the time. A good property will rent any time of year. The truth is, even great units can sit longer, or rent for less if they're listed at the wrong point in the cycle. Timing acts like a multiplier for everything else that you do. Now here's the bottom line. In Boston, the rental cycle isn't background noise. It's a predictable pattern that you can use for your benefit. If you align lease expirations with high demand windows and you plan early, especially for bigger units, so that you can reduce vacancy, attract stronger tenants, and keep your returns more consistent. I'm Jarrett Lau with Profitable Properties Boston, and if this helped, subscribe for more Boston investor insights. And if you've experienced the rental cycle firsthand, drop a comment of what you've seen. I read every single one. Now remember to plan ahead, work with the market's rhythm, and you'll put yourself in the best position to win.